Hello guys, welcome to Instant Electronics. So in today's episode, let's take a look at a review of Promate provolta 20,000 milliamp power bank. Now I bought this thing from Dubai 3 months ago and I've been using it since. So this review is going to be everything that I'm saying in this review is after using it for 3 months. So this has some goods, this has some bad. I will cover everything in this video. So I bought this thing from a supermarket in Dubai. I believe it's Dera city center, and I bought this thing at an offer price of around 50 dirhams, I believe, which is roughly around 900 Indian rupees. But for that price, I couldn't even believe that it is a 20,000 milliamp hour power bank, because at that time, because this thing is made in China, as you can see over here, it says made in China right there. I was actually thinking, oh, it's for 900 Indian rupees, 20,000 milliamp. Obviously, it's going to be a fake. But anyhow, I decided to buy it because at least I can make a video about this. Even if it's a fake one or it's a genuine one, I can make a video about this one. So, as I said, I have been using this thing for the last 3 months, but I just put it back in its original covers just so that I can show you this packaging also. So this is how it looks like. I cannot fit the entire thing in the frame. It has 3 USB charging ports, output ports. It can provide up to 3.1 amps, but that is really not true. And this is the rear side of it. You can pause it if you want to read through the specification, but let's just do a quick look. It says 20,800 milliamps, but that is not true. They have actually underrated this thing. This thing is a little bit more than that. I will explain about that later on. And it has output 5 volts at 3.1 amp max, but that 3.1 amps is actually getting divided from between these 3 ports. So this is the other side. It says these features over here. This is the other side of it. This one even has an 18 months international warranty. This is their official website. And there is one more thing that I have to show. It says charging time is around 18 hours. That is also incorrect, because as I am going to show you guys, I will put some pictures on the screen right now which shows the capacities. But now let's just bring this out of the cover. So as you can already see, it comes with 2 colors, black and white, and I bought the black one, of course. Let's just move the cover. There is nothing more to see in this cover. I believe there is nothing more. That's it. That's just the outer cover. And this right here is actually it. Comes with a little USB charge cable. It looks nice. And the first thing that I noticed after purchasing this thing is that this thing feels really heavy in hands. It does not feel, of course, you can buy cheap power banks for such low prices that claims to be such huge capacities, but when you actually pick it up, you're definitely going to feel it will be much lighter. But this one, on the other hand, it packs a punch. This thing it feels solid in my hands and really has some weight to it. And after buying this thing, I looked up online. Let me just adjust the camera a little bit down. I looked up online and people are actually saying good words about this power bank. So let's take a look at what are the things on this. It's just branding here. There is nothing on this side. There is the power button which also acts for the torch. So if you double tap on it, the torch will come on. Just double tap again and it will turn off. That is the input cable. That's the input port, and these 3 are the output ports which are mentioned right here. It says 5 volts, 1 amps for ports 1 and 2, which are these 2 right here, and for the output 3 it says 2.1 amps, which is this port right here. But in all cases, this says this one is 3.1 amps, but that is for the combined 3 USB ports. Say if you plug in 3 devices, each of them is going to get only 1 amps. The 3 amps is the total capacity. So if you plug in single device that needs that much amount of current, then you can actually get that much from a single port. So as I mentioned, I've been using this thing for the last 3 months, and I have done some testing. By the way, I forgot to show you there is nothing underneath this one, just the user's manual, which is in different languages, of course: Persian, Romanian, Spanish, German, and every other thing, Chinese, Arabic. And this is the English version. If anybody wants to read that, you can read it. That is the description for that. And this right here, my friends, this letter right here, this one, this guide is actually in Arabic, so I have no idea what they actually say, but I have a little bit of experience after using it. I have a rough estimate of how I create an avalanche. Stuffs are falling out from everywhere. So I think I have an approximate value for all these by using it. So as I mentioned, when I first got it, the obvious thing that I did is I discharged it completely at a constant 1 amp current by using this USB resistive load, and I didn't measure the capacity then. But once, let me just add exposure a little bit, and after discharging it completely, I charged it fully for the whole thing, like until the whole 4 LEDs stopped flashing and they just stayed on. And then I discharged this thing again at the constant 1 amp load, and this thing delivered 15,000 milliamps, roughly 15,000 milliamps, and it took around 14 hours at a constant 1 amp load to deliver that 15,000 milliamps. I shall put a screenshot of the meter reading on the screen right now. And on the other hand, this thing, once that test is completed, I recharge this thing back up, and interestingly, even though this thing says it is only 20,000 milliamps, 20,800 milliamps, this one is like 21,000 something milliamps. Even though it's just a slight difference from this 800, it still is worth mentioning because they are actually underrated. This thing, let's say 7 out of 10 full charges that I did to this one took 21,000 milliamps, and at the same time every like 8 out of 10 times this thing delivered around 15,000 milliamps. The last 2 times, I think, I don't know what happened. The test just got the test just got discontinued in between, and because of that this thing was showing around 12,000 milliamp or something, which was rubbish, so I just ignored that. So overall this thing is quite capable of delivering the power. This thing took around 25 hours. That's why I said this reading is also not incorrect, because it says 18 hours of charging time, but it took 25 hours for the full charge, 25 hours for the full 21,000 milliamps. And I'm not using any local chargers. I've been using this Geek Cases, this wonderful little charger that is capable of providing 3.4 amps at 5 volts for charging this thing. And you can watch the full review about this by clicking the I button up here. It's a really good charger. I do recommend this one. Even after using that particular charger for charging this thing up, it still takes 25 hours. So let me just show you this thing is good with 1 amps at 5 volts. It says really cool. I'm going to switch it to 2 amps, and now it is at 2 amps and it's still at 5 volts. So it's pretty much okay with whatever voltage. And irrespective of what it says on here, like port 1 and port 2 can only supply can only supply to like 1 amps. This every single port can output 2 amps without any issues, and that is the reason why I was telling that the whole 3.3 amps is divided across all the 3 ports, because all these ports might have been connected in parallel internally, and because I want to keep this thing, I'm not going to take apart the whole thing. And now let's talk about the LEDs. As you can see now, 2 of them are on at this time, and you can see a slight flickering action going on. We just turn it on again, and that's because these LEDs must be multiplexed, and to the naked eyes it's not happening. It just seems like it is just staying on, but in camera you can see it is flashing, and that's because it is multiplexed. And the way this thing works, if you own one of these, there is a slight chance that you actually get worried during the first charge until you get acquainted with this machine, because the LEDs are programmed in a weird manner. Until this thing takes around until this thing is charged to 15,000 milliamps from 0, only the first LED is going to flash. So as I mentioned, this thing took around 25 hours for a full charge. You will still see, even after like say 10 or 12 hours, you're still going to see only the single LED that's going to flash. And don't worry, if you own one of these, if you just bought one of these, then just don't worry, that's the way this thing works. And once the charge is up to 15,000 milliamps, then this one will stop flashing and it just stays on, and then this one will starts to flash, and this will continue to flash until the charge has reached around 17,000 milliamps. So you will get the point, right? It's until 15,000 milliamps this one starts. This is the only LED that blinks. Then for the next 2,000 milliamps, then the second one is going to blink, and from 17,000 to 19,000, these two will stay on, and the third one will start to flash. And from 19,000 onwards to the whole 21,000, the last LED is going to flash. The remaining 3 will be just stay on continuously. So that is the way this thing is programmed. So it's going to take a really long time for you to see any of the other LEDs rather than the first one to show some activity. You don't have to worry about that much, because people will actually think something is wrong because it's been 12 hours and only one LED is on. The remaining is not just turning on. Don't worry, don't panic. That is the way this thing is designed to operate. So basically speaking, that's all about it. And the good thing is that my phone that I'm using to record this video is a Zenfone 2 laser, and it's having a 3000 milliamp battery, and I'm quite happy with the results because I can charge my phone a maximum of 5 times with this 20,000 milliamp power bank. That's really good value for money, because I initially thought this is a scam, this is rubbish. For such a cheap price you are not going to get quality product, but I was wrong, because this was put on an offer price. That doesn't make this thing a really bad unit. I can charge my phone 4 times, that's for sure. 4 times is real. 5 times only if I'm not using my phone while charging, but most of the times I will somewhat use my phone, like checking WhatsApp and do some other stuff that actually affects its performance. So the best I will get is 4 every time, and if I'm a little bit cautious about charging, like about performance, then I can squeeze out a couple of charges, like say 5 charges out of it, the maximum. So I'm quite happy with the results. For the money I paid, I'm getting a very good product, and I can also recommend this thing for you, but it's entirely up to you. I think this particular model is no longer available. They have updated this model to a newer version. And the bad thing about this thing is that this thing has a slight firmware issue, I believe, because sometimes, like say in around every 20 times, this thing is just turns off everything that is connected at the output port. Let's say it's just if it's a phone, or is it an LED bulb, or it's an USB fan, whatever it is, sometimes it just turns off everything just randomly. Like all the three output ports will just turn off, and you have to manually restart it again for it to activate, like to turn on everything. And that won't happen always, that happens sometimes. Just an hour ago it happened because I was charging my phone from this and it just stopped charging it in the midway, and I have to again push it using I have to restart it by pressing this button, and once I'd done that, it just was working fine. It completed charging my phone without any issues. So I don't know whether that issue is with this single unit that I'm having, or is it the case with all Promate, this provolta 21 power banks. Maybe it is something wrong with the firmware inside, I don't know. But yeah, if any one of you actually know what does this thing mean, these Arabic letters mean, please let me know in the comments below. I'm just going to show you that once again. So please do let me know in the comments below, what does this thing mean in Arabic. So that is it, guys. That is it for the review of this Promate, this wonderful little power bank that I got for a very cheap price. So don't always ignore, don't always show a bad face towards the supermarket item. Sometimes you will find a gem in a dumpster, and this is one of them. So thanks for watching. See you in another video.